This session is about what's coming up in QuestionPro in 2022 with our founder, Vivek Bhaskaran, the man that needs no introduction. So Viv, welcome and take it away.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Crystal. Both of you guys do an amazing job running XDay. I know it's a ton of work, not only you guys, but a ton of people have worked behind the scenes quite a bit in trying to put this together. And first of all, thank you so much for kind of making this happen. Hopefully everybody's got some Starbucks coffee in them. I'm going to jump right into it. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from India. I did, I went to high school in India, then I left and lived in Russia for a couple of years. I'm not sure why, but I did do that. And then I landed up in the States. I went to a school called Brigham Young University in Utah. Finished up my computer science stuff. I graduated as an engineer, I guess. And then I moved to Seattle. And I started QuestionPro in Seattle back in 2005. So I've been doing this for a while. I did take a break between 2010 and 2015. I did a couple of the startups. Most of them failed, so I came back, and I've been running QuestionPro since 2015. And I live in Seattle. I used to live in Seattle rather for about 10 years, and I'm in Austin right now for the last couple of years. Just a little bit about QuestionPro itself. An interesting fact about QuestionPro that I wanted to kind of throw out there: we do about 15 to 18 million survey responses every month, each with about 20 to 30 data points on average. So that's about almost 200 million, 150 to 200 million responses, data points that we're collecting every month. This is across 5 data centers across the globe. So that gives you some perspective. And also another data point that I looked up today for our event. We have about anywhere between 2,000 to 4,000 people logging into our system every day, either to check the responses, create surveys, deploy surveys, all kinds of stuff. So it's a fairly, obviously it's a fairly large system right now. As you can see, we have over 250 employees right now. We have a big team in India that supports us, and obviously sales teams everywhere throughout the world, including here in the States. We have a big office in Merida, Mexico, and in Germany, and we recently opened up an office in the UK to support all our UK clients, and of course Dubai and Australia are the 2 satellite offices. Hopefully that gives you a picture about who we are, where we are. Just a little bit about kind of data centers. This comes up quite often in terms of when we run a global company. Data privacy comes up quite a bit with GDPR, CCPA, and so on. So we have multiple data centers that we support our clients throughout the world with, including, obviously, servers here in the States, but also in Canada, especially for our Canadian customers. We also have a data center in the Middle East for all our Middle East customers, and in Amsterdam for all our European customers. So we kind of spread ourselves out from a data center perspective also, and especially for the federal government here in the States. We also have a FedRAMP approved instance in DC for all of our federal government customers. Just a little bit quickly, I'm going to jump into product also to give you guys perspective, and I'm going to jump into a couple of things over here in the next 10 or 20 minutes. Our businesses, we experience three different categories or 3 different lanes, if you will. One is research and market research and insights and consumer research, and that's I want to talk a little bit about InsightsHub, democratizing research. I know Ray and Dan are going to talk about it. We believe that there's something there in terms of what's going on out there, and also Dan's going to talk a lot about LiveCast, but I want to give you a quick preview about LiveCast. We think that that's a pretty important tool that we built in 2021. On the customer experience side, I'll talk a little bit about Outer Loop. Last time we talked about a little about reviews, but I want to talk about Outer Loop. It's a new concept we've kind of developed. A lot of people talk about Inner Loop, which is closed loop feedback and so on. But we, Ken Peterson, who leads the CX business, has developed this kind of amazing kind of solution for kind of managing CX internally within the organization. And the new thing that we developed in 2021 is the Leadership 360 on our employee experience side, and that's coming out. That's already come out, and it'll be coming out in the next couple of months. And I want to jump right into it. And I think when I think about research, but before I jump in, I want to kind of, obviously this year has been as crazy as it was last year, frankly. But I want to tell you guys a story. So this weekend I'm in Austin. So this weekend it was the Formula One race weekend in Austin. So Austin hosts the only Formula One track in all of the U.S. And so I was there, and of course, it was an amazing, fun day. I think it was the largest event post-pandemic in the U.S. I think there was 200,000 people in the stands and everywhere else. So it was, obviously it was surreal in some cases, like, we're all outside and it's kind of fun. Obviously the cars were, ridiculously fast, and, cars were fast. But one of the things I noticed in Formula One is, like, unlike other stock racing and everything else, like, and they were very, very, they could turn on a dime. They were taking turns at, almost 100 miles an hour. They were taking, almost, 90-degree turns at 100 miles an hour. So, and that got me thinking, really, right? That got me thinking about two things about research. One is speed, time to insights and speed. And the other thing, agility. So these are the two themes that I think about research that as research evolves into 2022 and beyond, that they'll keep coming up one after the other. And one is the ability for our customers to, because things are changing ridiculously fast. Obviously, we've seen through the couple of years now, and we have to react to it. Consumer preferences rather are changing fast. And if research models and research process does not evolve at that speed, and then obviously they won't be able to help support decision making. And the second part is really speed around time to insights, which is, I need almost every market researcher, and every researcher today is being asked the same question. Hey, I need this data. I need this yesterday. Why? Because things are changing so fast. I can't wait a month. I can't wait weeks trying to find out what can help to make that decision. So I think these two themes are what we are anchoring on and relying on as we build products and services, to say, like, we have to make our customers A, more agile, B, reduce their time to insights. And I want to showcase three things today, and we have a lot of things going on, but I really want to kind of jump into three things really quickly today, and talk, and you'll see the theme over here, and you'll see the correlation between them. The first one, Hub over here, and we built InsightsHub as to solve the kind of the proverbial problem of people come to researchers and say, hey Joe, can you help me figure this out? And Joe's looking back and saying, well, we already did this. We've already done some amount of research on this. Maybe we want to know more about Gen Zs, because Gen Zs are kind of so much different than millennials now. And so have we done any research on Gen Zs and Hallmark curves? And the answer is, like, yes, we have. More often than not, research teams have done some amount of research. Maybe not the exact same research people are asking for, but some research on Gen Z, and that's lost typically. It's in a SharePoint folder or a Google Drive, PowerPoint deck somewhere, and nobody knows how to access it. And maybe even they know how to access it, maybe it's not searchable, maybe it's not taggable. There's no easy access to a repository of insights. So we believe that creating a system, and it's not that difficult actually, creating a system and organizing ourselves so that when we create insight, not just data, but insights, a lot of insights that are human curated, lie in PowerPoint decks. And as an organization, I think we can kind of surface this information out. And so that's kind of that's the key thing that we created with InsightsHub. We are piloting this with a bunch of customers, and we created a cool little tool called Knowledge Graph as part of it. So where you can tag them with a parent-child relationship, you can see, like, okay, these are the nuggets we have, and these are the nuggets that are tied to these kind of elements in the business lexicon, and then that's a parent-child relationship over there. And so you can actually do some aggregation and cool data kind of filtering and discovery, really, around that. So that's the first thing that I'd like to talk, that we've done, and we've launched it in beta with a bunch of customers. So if you want to kind of try it out, obviously, please, hit us up. We'd love to kind of have you guys as a beta customer. Second thing I want to talk about is LiveCast, that Dan's also going to talk a little bit, more about. And this is really kind of like, we want to kill focus groups, simply put. We think that focus groups are great, but we want to have the fully digital version of an instant on focus group. So video feedback from customers, and So sorry for that. Video feedback from customers, and getting access to that data and running a video-based feedback model instantly using a survey. And Dan's going to do a detailed demo around it later today. I think you guys should stick around and take a look at it. And because we are not only just collecting the feedback as it says on the screen, we're doing some machine learning on top of that to kind of figure out what the emotions are, and that's a pretty cool concept that we've developed. And the third part to this, third item that I'd like to talk about is, what frankly can develop this is what we call the closed, the outer loop in a CX feedback system. We've all talked about closed loop, which is, hey, promoter amplification, detractor recovery. Hey, if somebody gives you a bad score, you got to, service recovery. We've been talking about this for, frankly, many, many years. But, if you think about it from a CX perspective, systemic changes happens when a multiple organizations within the company are kind of multiple groups within the company work together to kind of holistically make some change, really. So the outer loop platform will allow us to kind of create these initiatives and huddles that allow you to really involve multiple stakeholders within your own org to say, like, hey, here's the problem we've identified through our CX platform. And it can't just be solved by one team. It has to be solved by 8 different teams or 3 different teams really within the organization. How do you involve those 3 different teams, and how do you manage that process, and how do you track it to say, hey, look, we want to create an initiative that that involves 3 different teams. We go and we've identified this one particular issue through our CX platform, through the surveys or any other means, and we want to go through the process of going through that initiative and have huddles every week, every month, every day, depending upon the cadence that you set up, and then manage that and kind of track that. So that gives you visibility into whether the CX will actually improve or not. So it's one thing, if you think about it, to collect the data. Is the other thing to we want to get into action phase right now. So we want to help you collect the data, and then we also want to help you transform, really, to change behavior, change kind of systems so that actually experience improves. Just collecting the data obviously is not going to improve experience. We've kind of collected the data, we've presented it, and now we want to create tools and services that actually help you change or help the organization change behavior, if you will. So if you notice, all the three examples are given of kind of tools and services that we're building have some level of agility and speed built into it. So we want to make sure that our customers are agile as well as they're fast. So that's all I had for a quick briefing from a product perspective. But there's one more thing I'd like to talk about. We are announcing today that we've acquired a company called Bryght.AI. I know the AI is a pretty overused term, but it's really a natural language processing engine that we have acquired. So it's a unstructured. So what Bryght does is they look at unstructured data and create meaning out of it. And there's a lot of people who do it today, by the way. But realistically, the reason we struck a deal with them is because they have lexicons and nomenclatures that are specific to certain industries. So the automotive, gaming, financial services, they have very, very specific lexicons that they've built over the last couple of years in a set of verticals. And so we believe that model in a specialized way is actually better than having a general purpose kind of natural NLP tool that analyzes and structures open-ended text. And obviously, we're going to plug that into our core platform across CX, workforce, and research to kind of do the natural language processing intrinsically for every piece of data that we are collecting. That includes every open-ended text that's in the system. We'll automatically classify it and try to get meaning out of it. And then with some level of help, we can, if we know that the survey is in the automotive context, or the survey is in a customer service within the automotive context, or is it an NPS-based survey on the automotive context? So there are different kind of contexts that we have. If we know the context, then we can apply a better process and a better NLP engine on top of that to obviously improve the accuracy and the efficiency of automatically tagging them and automatically creating word vector pairs, really. So that's kind of what we that's one of the things I'm obviously excited about, that that we'd like to announce today, and this will roll out towards the end of this year and into early next year into all our systems. There's one more thing actually that I would like to kind of talk about. We are announcing today that we're going to give out 1,000 respondents, not 100, 1,000 respondents free to every single QuestionPro account. This is part of our QuestionPro audience platform. And we believe that, this is part of kind of what, thank you for being a QuestionPro customer. The better part is, I know a lot of our customers have been with us for many, many years. Obviously, I started the company quite a while ago. I still talk to my first client, actually, that I sold back in 2005. She's a professor from Binghamton in Albany, New York. Yeah, so we want to give out, this will roll out in the near future, where, we are obviously integrated, we have an integrated panel, we can have access to respondents, and it's census balance. We have access to 40 plus countries. We have, I think, 25, 27 million respondents across the board. And so every single QuestionPro user will get access, it'll automatically be credited into your account. You'll have access to 1,000 respondents that you can use, throughout the course of the year. And then if you've been with us for more than 1 year, I guess, so if you've been with us for 5 years, then we'll give you 5,000 respondents for free as a thank you measure. There are some strings attached. I won't bullshit you. There are some strings attached. It has to be Gen Pop, and it has to be, the survey can be 25 questions or something like that. So we can't really field a massive survey. But if it's a 20 question survey and if it's a Gen Pop, we want to give this to you for free. For every year you get 10,000 respondents for free as part of your account. I think that's about it. Yes, thank you very much. Hopefully that was helpful. Dan and Crystal, anything else?
Wow, I know there's a lot of comments about the 1,000 free respondents, so that's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And then people were saying congrats on the acquisition. I think there were some questions that came up around Bryght.AI. How are we planning to integrate that initially? Are we going to get into a few product lines, or what's the plan around that?
Yeah, I mean, initially it's going to be part of our, I think, research product, where I think the CS product already has an engine that we've baked into it, which uses IBM Watson. And the research platform will kind of start, we'll start enabling that, and then we'll roll that out to both the CX and the workforce platforms after that, one after the other.
Awesome. Well, that's great. People were asking about that. And then in terms of some of the other functionality, like InsightsHub, if people want to use that, I think reach out to myself or Vivek. We can get you set up and we can talk to you about it. I know I'll be talking about that a little bit later. So Viv, thank you for teeing that up. And then LiveCast as well. I think that's something interesting that we want to continue to put more effort into it. So there were a few points about that. Viv, I know I kind of want you to tease this a little bit. I'm going to be talking with Ray about democratizing insights across organizations. Why do you feel that that's such an important thing today? I know you kind of talked about it a little bit, but obviously we see it as a future, but I'd love to get some quick comments from you around that.
Yeah, I mean, as I've talked to almost every research team that I've talked to, doesn't have a simple and easy way to expose their knowledge, if you will, right? I mean, there are lots of, so that's kind of the one thing that I glean down to and say, like, look, if we are spending this much money doing a research project, and we've used it, we've kind of like done it even internally, we've done internal research, but the minute there is turnover, or the minute there's somebody else new and they don't know what the previous person did. So a lot of the information in a lot of insights teams are right here between, right here. And so, and that's getting, frankly, that puts a lot of pressure across in many different directions. One is just like, hey, look, that person cannot go anywhere. He's the main guy who knows everything. And then, having access to it in an easy way is not physically possible, at least not right now. And that's why we believe that, putting all that in a structured format, and putting it out in an intranet under a single sign-on system, obviously, having granular access control within that to say, like, okay, look, this is publicly available to the entire organization, but this is only this piece of research is only available to this part of the organization. So coming up with that model is, in my mind, it's obviously more efficient. So, and B, more importantly, from a purely economic perspective, if you think about it, like, if we have already done the research and we commission another study, I mean, that's another fair amount of time, effort, money, energy wasted, whereby you could have just looked it up and found out, like, well, it may not exactly be what I'm looking for, but it's representative enough, probably. So it's good enough for me. Is the 80% good enough for me? And then I don't have to wait, another 2 weeks, 3 weeks to run the research project. And then get back to the data set. So that's at least, that's my viewpoint as I've talked to a lot of our customers around why we need this, right? And we think that we are kind of well suited because we are the kind of sources of information for some of these things through the notion of surveys, through communities. So we are kind of the source. And so, and that with the kind of the knowledge graph tagging mechanism, we kind of start building on top of one on top of the other, as opposed to 70 PowerPoint decks are not building on top of the other, but 50 projects which are tagged and which are linked to knowledge graphs where we have detailed nugget level information. So this is what we exactly learned, and those nuggets are then linked to knowledge graph items. Then the whole tree can be traversed from just kind of from an information and architecture perspective, as opposed to it being like 40 PowerPoint decks or 200 PowerPoint decks. I mean, 200 PowerPoint decks are generally useless because we can't do anything with it.
Right. No, that makes sense. It really is akin to your F1 racing analogy, where like the speed to insights and so forth. So I think that's great. Do you think this is the biggest trend? Oh, go ahead, Crystal. Go ahead.
Viv, can you stop sharing your screen?
Sorry. Okay.
There we go.
Picture in picture there. I like
it. Inception. One thing, Dan, before your next question, Mark just put in the files on the right side of your screen, all attendees. If you go to the files button, you can download some one-sheeters on InsightsHub. We also have a couple YouTube videos kind of explaining it. InsightsHub is something we'll be pushing a lot, so get comfortable with it.
I like it. Viv, is that the biggest trend you see going into 2022? Is there something else? Is it?
Yeah, and then the other one, the big one, obviously, is unstructured and structured data. Really. So the merging of the structured and unstructured data. Right? And that's a big reason why we acquired Bryght, is kind of like making sure that we have kind of the best-in-class tools for unstructured data. Also, obviously, we've spent lots of many years building out our survey platform and our research platform and our communities platform, which is largely around structured data. And now, we believe we have to meld in the best-in-class unstructured data based on industry level lexicon. And that's the key part, that the industry level lexicon, and it's not the first time I've talked to a bunch of customers that have used general purpose tagging tools, and they all usually don't work. I mean, they're 50% effective, 30% effective, but if you use an industry specific tagging model, yes, it's a little bit more work to get there, but once you get there, then then you get to 70, 80, 90% kind of tagging effectiveness, and that's why we can acquire Bryght.
Right. No, I think it makes sense. And we were even on a call yesterday where they wanted to tag a bunch of verbatim responses from all these different sources and everything. So it definitely is research, but it kind of expands out from the QuestionPro platform. So I think that's interesting. Crystal, you had a question about our entrepreneurial journey, I think, right? What was your question?
My question is more like, how does acquiring companies, because since I've been here for 2 years, we've bought a few. And so how does that support, for people who aren't customers yet, right? We talk a lot about supporting our customers, and obviously if they're customers, they already know that, but how does acquiring companies or building new robust features like InsightsHub really align with your vision of entrepreneurship and QuestionPro's success in your heart of hearts?
Well, it aligns in the context of we are acquiring companies that we believe are best in class, that can help our customers and help the ecosystem, simply put, right? I mean, we're not naive to say we can build everything. There are folks smarter than us. There are folks who can do certain things better than us. Clearly, that's true. That's factual. We work very hard, but I mean, there are other folks who are very focused on certain other problems, really. And we are not focused on, and that's it. Like, I mean, unstructured data is a great example. We've been so focused on structured data that we haven't kind of spent a lot of time on that side of the business, on side from the pure technology perspective. We've not spent that time. And so that's why we kind of that's why I look for kind of, lateral adjacencies that help us kind of cumulatively have a better kind of outcome for our customers. So that's the reason why these things actually help. Obviously, it helps our customers, but also prospects, new customers. Like, okay, we have a better, more robust, a more kind of well thought out platform, and that's how we think about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, do you have any last minute questions? We could give people a 4-minute break before our next session. You could go do some networking roulette.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Thanks, Viv. That was awesome.
All right. Thank you, guys.
And hey, make sure you make use of your 1,000 free responses too. So,
yes.
Reach out to me or Tim, and we'll also get that into your accounts.
Yeah, we'll make it automated. Yeah, in a couple of weeks, it's going to get automated, and everybody will have the credits in their system.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super exciting.
Well, awesome, guys. Have a great afternoon, and I'll see you in the next sessions.
Thank you, guys.